things happened this week that don't usually happen in the same 7 days. A free open source model out of China quietly outscored Claude and ChatGPT on the hardest knowledge benchmark in AI. Anthropic flipped the lid open on Claude's desktop app, so any model from any vendor, including ones running locally on your laptop, can plug in. And OpenAI didn't ship one product, it shipped 3. A new flagship model, an image generator that took the #1 spot in the world overnight, and an agent layer that lets ChatGPT live inside your work tools instead of waiting in a tab. This is AI TV. We don't do hot takes. We do the read on what these moves actually mean. Here's what shifted this week, why each one matters, and which announcements you need to act on, not just bookmark. Start with China. Moonshot's Kimi just dropped K2.6, open source, free to use, and currently sitting at the top of humanity's last exam, the benchmark widely treated as the hardest general knowledge test in the field. It's also leading on coding, and it cost a fraction of what Claude or GPT charge per token. 3 capabilities are worth flagging. It can run coding tasks for over 12 hours straight across more than 4,000 tool calls without a human prompt in the middle. Second, single prompt site generation including animations, 3D graphics, and database wiring. Third, parallel sub-agents, up to 300 of them working on different parts of the same project at the same time. One prompt can produce a finished site, a deck, a spreadsheet, and a document in parallel. The takeaway: the frontier is no longer a Western monopoly, and the cost curve just bent sharply downward. OpenAI officially shipped GPT 5.5 this week, plus a pro tier they're positioning as their smartest model to date. The 30-second version, it handles messy real-world work, coding, spreadsheets, research, computer use meaningfully better than 5.0. The substantive shift is autonomy. The model now plans steps on its own, audits its own work, and finishes multi-stage jobs without you babysitting each move. Ask for an app, a 3D game, or a financial analysis on top of an existing spreadsheet, and it figures out the workflow itself. It's live in ChatGPT and Codex for Plus Pro business and enterprise users. API access follows soon. This is the story nobody is talking about loudly enough. Vercel, the infrastructure company quietly powering OpenAI's website, Nike, Walmart, and millions of others, valued at $9.3 billion, just got breached. The attackers didn't go through Vercel directly. They went through one employee who installed a small AI productivity tool and clicked allow all permissions when it asked for Google Workspace access. That single click bypassed multi-factor authentication. The attackers walked into Vercel's internal systems, claimed to have lifted API keys, source code, and data on 580 employees, and the package is now being sold for $2 million. This is part of a pattern. Last November, Chinese state-aligned actors used Claude itself to automate attacks against roughly 30 global companies. The AI did about 90% of the work autonomously. The shape is clear. AI tools are no longer assistants. They are employees with credentials, dashboard access, and inbox visibility. And the fastest way into your company is now through whatever AI app one of your people installed last Tuesday. 3 actions worth taking today. 1. Open your Google Workspace admin panel and revoke every AI integration nobody is actively using. 2. Never click allow all on a permission prompt again. Grant scopes manually. 3. Tell your team the new attack surface isn't a phishing email, it's a polished AI app asking for access. Here's a story that didn't get the airtime it deserved. A solo researcher just sequenced and interpreted his own genome at home using a USB-sized device, AI models, and roughly $1,100. Total time, 4 hours. For context, the original Human Genome Project cost about $3 billion and took 13 years. Why this matters beyond the price drop? More than 1 in 3 people metabolize common medications differently because of a single gene. Antidepressants, painkillers, heart medication. For some, the standard dose is too strong. For others, it's too weak. Knowing your genotype before swallowing a prescription is moving from hospital only to consumer grade. The harder problem has always been interpretation. Roughly 98% of your genome isn't protein coding genes. It's regulatory instructions that control when genes turn on and off. Historically, that part was effectively unreadable, which is why scientists used to call it junk DNA. Google DeepMind's AlphaFold work has changed that, predicting how variants in human DNA influence biological function. Personalized medicine isn't a future plot point anymore. It's a Tuesday afternoon project. SpaceX just inked a partnership with Cursor, the AI native code editor most professional engineers already live in. The deal gives Cursor access to Colossus, the SpaceX-aligned XAI supercomputer, at a scale that translates to roughly 1 million H100 equivalent GPU years. That is more compute than most national governments command. Cursor will use it to train far more capable coding and knowledge work models built specifically for engineers. In exchange, SpaceX gets the right to acquire Cursor in 2026 for up to $60 billion or $10 billion for joint research output alone. A 2-year-old developer tool is now potentially a $60 billion asset. The thesis behind that valuation is simple. Whoever owns the surface where engineers actually write code owns where the next decade of software gets built. Elon shipped Grok 4.3 this week with no announcement and no press release. Typical pattern, atypical scope. The differentiator, where most models write, this one builds. Give it a topic and it produces a finished PowerPoint deck. Ask for analysis and it returns a populated Excel sheet. Request a report and it outputs a downloadable PDF. It also accepts video as input, not stills, full video, and reasons about what's actually happening inside the frames. That last capability is something Claude and the standard ChatGPT tier still can't do natively. Anthropic shipped live artifacts inside Claude Cowork. The shift here matters more than it sounds. Artifacts used to be static. You generate a chart, the chart goes stale the moment your data changes. Live artifacts are wired directly to your connectors, Gmail, Calendar, Slack, your CRM, and refresh automatically. A test prompt for a personal command center pulled live email, calendar events, and Slack mentions into a single branded dashboard, saved to a dedicated tab with version history, and reopenable across devices. Effectively, Claude stops being a chatbot and starts behaving like a workspace builder. OpenAI quietly added an experimental tool to Codex called Chronicle. It periodically screenshots your screen in the background, then use those frames to build a working memory of what you're actually doing. Open files, error messages, project layout, tools you're running. Instead of re-explaining context every prompt, you can ask things like, why is this failing on taint, or fix that bug from earlier, and the model already knows what you mean. Its opt-in screenshots are stored locally for 6 hours and then deleted. It has predictably sparked a privacy debate. Useful capability, real trade-off, worth understanding before you flip it on. Right now, when you ask AI to design a UI, it guesses your brand. It picks a generic blue, a generic font, and the output looks like every other AI design online. Google's design tool, Stitch, just open-sourced a format called design.md, a plain text markdown spec for design system that captures colors, typography, spacing, components, and the reasoning behind each choice. Until now, this format was locked inside Stitch. It's now fully open, which means any AI agent that can read Markdown can read your brand rules and generate you is that actually conform to them. If you build digital products, this is the standard worth adopting now. Anthropic also turned Claude Desktop into a universal frontend. You keep the Claude interface and tooling, the chat, the agents, the artifacts, but you can swap the model underneath for anything else. OpenRouter for cheap inference across hundreds of models. Foundry for enterprise private deployments where data stays inside your infrastructure. A local model running on your laptop for full data isolation. Nothing leaves the room. Most AI vendors lock you into their model. Anthropic just handed users the keys. OpenAI's other major drop, workspace agents inside ChatGPT. You describe a job in plain English, ChatGPT spins up an agent and that agent lives inside your tool. So Slack, Linear, email, the rest of your stack. The reference demo is sharp. Prompt, build me an agent that monitors my product feedback channel, answers questions and files new issues. ChatGPT writes the instructions, wires it into Linear, connects the Slack channel and ships it. Then summarize the last 24 hours of feedback and draft a team email. Agent searches Slack, pulls Linear tickets, writes the summary, drops the email, and it runs around the clock. Bug reported at 2 a.m., ticket filed, assignee tagged, summary in your inbox before anyone opens a laptop. The category of work you used to delegate to a junior engineer is now delegable to ChatGPT directly. ChatGPT Images 2.0 launched and went to number 1 in the world overnight. There are 2 modes: instant for speed, thinking for reasoning before generation. 5 capabilities are worth understanding. 1. Character and object continuity across a full brand, 6 images for a fictional fashion label generated in a single prompt. Same model identity, same lighting philosophy, same color grade across a mailer, a record sleeve, a wine label, and a flyer. This is the unlock for anyone building a brand, a comic, a storyboard, or a multi-part campaign. A coherent visual system from a single instruction. 2. Working QR codes baked into the design. A taste flyer for a fictional app generated a scannable QR code embedded directly inside the design, not pasted on top. Scanned cleanly, the model's reasoning panel even noted that no URL had been supplied, so it placed a placeholder. That kind of self-aware decision-making inside an image tool is new. 3. Real multilingual text rendering, a complete Japanese manga page, readable speech bubbles, grammatically correct dialogue confirmed by a native speaker, correct panel reading flow, not foreign-looking glyphs that mean nothing. Actual language. Most image tools claim multilingual support and then hallucinate. This one delivers. 4. Literal instruction, following the headline test, the word few in the left hand, the phrase 1,000 words in the right hand, on a magazine word art flow composition, both hands correct, the specific words on the specific hands correct, down to the placement. The product isn't pretty pictures anymore. Anyone can do that. The product is precision. 5. Image analysis and recomposition, upload a 64 frame grid. Ask the model to label every frame with a number done correctly on every single frame. Then ask it to extract frame 40, cleanly upscale, and reframe to 16:9 aspect ratio. It uses Python inside the reasoning step to calculate exact crop coordinates and outputs a clean standalone image. That is a category change. The image generator just absorbed the image editor. Analyze, isolate, recompose existing images from one tool in one prompt. 3 things to take with you from this week. 1. The open source frontier caught up. Kimi K2.6 is on the leaderboard, free and beating closed models on the hardest benchmark in AI. Western model dominance is no longer a default. 2. AI is now an attack surface, not just a productivity tool. The Vercel Breach is a preview, not an outlier. Audit your integration this week. 3. The surface itself shifted. Agents inside your workspace, models you can swap underneath any front end, image tools that can edit, and design systems agents can read. The work is being restructured around these primitives in real time. If this is the read you want every week, the analysis, not the noise. See you in the next one.